Hello and welcome to the Leafs Room podcast. My name is Jori. I'm alongside Stuart and Ethan after a disappointing 5-3 loss to the Ottawa Senators as the Leafs dropped their first game of the season. Folks, that was not a pleasant one to watch, I would say.
No, that was tough to watch, Jori. I would certainly expect the Leafs to put up a better performance than they did tonight. There's a few players that I'm sure we'll be talking about throughout the course of the podcast tonight that really raised an eyebrow as far as their performance, not in a good way. And honestly, Ottawa surprised me. They're a lot scrappier and look a lot better than I expected them to be honest.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say they looked better than I expected. The Leafs can't be battling in games with the Ottawa Senators. I mean, we talked about it a little bit, but the neutral zone trap is clearly something that the Leafs can't seem to muster up anything against. I mean, the Islanders in years past they've had struggles with, and the Senators now, it's a problem, and they need to figure out how to beat these teams that should be beatable. I mean, the Senators, by the underlying numbers, outplayed the Leafs, which you can't have happen.
Yeah, the thing is also you can't win when your goaltender has like an 800 and so save percentage. Like Freddie has to show up. He wasn't good on Wednesday night, and he wasn't good again tonight. And I think that, like I said last time, you gotta. Like Jack Campbell should start tomorrow night as it's a back-to-back, but he's gotta. I don't know. Freddie's got to do something to earn his right as the starter.
Yeah, I would expect Campbell to start tomorrow. I don't think that is anything anyone thinks isn't going to happen. It really comes down to there's obviously lots to kind of pick apart with the game, which we will get to. I mean, we can start with Frederik Andersen because you're not going to win with a goalie stopping 80% of the shots, right? I mean, I don't know exactly how many shots the Senators had, I think, at the end.
23 or so?
3 or 4, yeah.
Yeah, so, 5 goals on that is just, it's not going to cut it.
It's not acceptable. No, I wonder, you watch him, and he just doesn't seem in position. He doesn't seem, I don't know, maybe is it his focus? I don't know if it's just his mechanics, but he seems really discombobulated. There was a one little flurry there where he was backwards, spread eagled, didn't know where the puck was. It's when you see a goalie like that positionally, you wonder whether he's just, it's between the ears or what's going on. He just doesn't seem to have it right now, and over the first 2 games. And to Ethan's point, and I'm a bit of a proponent of this. I don't want to jump ship on Freddie completely here, but I think if Campbell gets a good performance tomorrow night, which I actually anticipate that he will, I think they'll have a bounce back game. I think that they should give him a bit of a chance maybe and put him in for another game after that and see how he does. I don't know what you guys think.
Jack Campbell, I mean, you can't. Jack Campbell's never been a starter in the NHL. That's the thing. There's a lot of talk about Jack Campbell's the next guy.
He might be.
But the problem is he's never started in the NHL. It's hard to. Freddie hasn't been good enough. I think that's pretty widely understood. But immediately being like, oh, Jack Campbell's the guy now. That's what it is.
No. But I think this is what I think. I think you wrote your article the other day and talked about Freddie. Who is he? Jack Campbell. Who is he? I mean, do they really know? Do they really know what he can do? Have they ever? He played 4 games for them, or 6 after they got him, out of all the games he played. And, I mean, he's likely on a trajectory, I would guess, to only play a third of the games. So, if that, maybe not even a third of the games. It concerns me that they're not going to use him enough. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I don't know. I think Jack Campbell, he's not like a highly touted prospect or anything. He's up in age, whatever. But you just gotta test him out, in my opinion. He's shown that he has similar capabilities to Frederik Andersen, and I feel like with that, you gotta just go with it. Just kind of go all in.
But how is that going all in? He hasn't done anything in the NHL. I mean, you're going from one you're going for a known commodity that is underperformed. Although again, you can also look at it from the angle of it's October Freddie in January.
And it's a small sample size.
Yes, I mean, it could be that, but I mean, like Jack Campbell, what happens? You put him in, and he's at like a 905 goalie. Like, what happens then?
But I think my feeling is, I mean, again, it was an inter-squad game, but I loved the way he played last Saturday, and he just looked steady. He looked in position at all times, and I just feel like you won't know if he's a 905 goalie or not unless you give the guy a bit of a run. And sure, you know what? They're not going to do that. They're going to let Freddie continue to go and go 3 out of 4 games or whatever. But if Freddie continues to have these games where he's giving up 4 or 5 goals a game, I don't think it's justified that you keep throwing him out there. That's just my feeling.
Maybe you just got to find a goalie.
No, but like, how are you gonna find a goalie now? Like,
There was it was a pretty wide open market with a lot of goaltender movement in the off season, and the Leafs decided just to stand pat.
But
no one thought Freddie was gonna underperform.
Never mind that. I mean, okay, first of all, again, it's 2 games. Like, you don't necessarily pop off the Freddie bandwagon quite yet, because I think there's reason to believe that Freddie is not as bad as he's shown the last 2 games. But
it's not just the 2 games, Jori. I think the concern for the fan base and the media and even the team, the concern is that over a fairly long stretch, he's shown to be very inconsistent. And when the chips have been down during the playoffs and so forth, he's not been the guy. He's not been a money goalie. He's 0-7 in elimination games. And I think fans are done with
it. That's the team, though, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think drawing conclusions on Freddie being. I mean, no one shows up. No one has showed up for those elimination games. But even then, that's such a specific parameter. I don't think you can draw conclusions from a parameter like elimination games.
Okay, but you know what? Listen, your comment during the game was you think he's done. So I mean, I understand from a rational standpoint that you're defending the fact that it's a small sample size, only a couple of games, can't jump ship on him, so on and so forth. But here, as a fan watching the game and seeing him play and saying on multiple occasions that you got to do better than letting 4 goals on 19 shots or whatever he had done at that point, I think even you would admit that the way he's performing in front of a team that's supposed to be really good. A team that's supposed to be good in front of him, and they didn't play well tonight. We got to get to that too. But I think in games where they play like dog crap, he's got to bail them out. And I think he just exacerbated the problem. They all played bad tonight, with very few exceptions, but he wasn't there either. And these are the games that your goalie should steal for you. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, like Nylander didn't perform like he did last night, or the night before. He's not going to put up 3 points every night. Like, you're not going to expect that from him. Tavares, I thought, was pretty good. Getting in the corners, taking pucks out. I thought he was really good tonight.
He was probably their best player.
Kerfoot, like I said the other night.
Don't forget Hyman had a really good
Hyman
game.
was really good.
First half of the game anyway.
I mean, it's a little bit lost, but I mean, he did. I mean, you know, he got that dad strength now. He had his kid now, so he's going sicko mode.
Yep.
Fred Van Vliet.
Hopefully he gets some Fred Van Vliet stuff out of that.
Yeah, he's the kind of guy that you need to get, like we're talking about Kerfoot or even the Simmons.
Play him on the top line. Play him with Austin and
it comes back down to the whole discussion we have through these first 2 games watching Joe Thornton play. I don't know. I'm not totally sold that was a good acquisition.
No, I disagree with that. No, Joe Thornton was a good acquisition, but
he's not an acquisition as a first line.
You can't expect a 41-year-old to come in and immediately mesh with your first line.
I get it, but you could clearly see his skill set is limited. I think it's very limited. Can he move a puck around on a power play? No question, right? But in less open space than a power play, I don't think a guy like Thornton fits in very well with this team. This team is built on moving that puck around very fast, and the first 2 games I've noticed when that puck's moving fast and the players are moving fast, he doesn't, that pace of play, it's too much for him, for his speed and his foot speed and his even stick speed for that matter. He's I don't know. I've watched him. I've focused in on him a little bit, and that's what I've noticed. And again, small sample size, but early on, I'm not super impressed with what I'm seeing with him.
Yeah, Jori was telling me in the game, like, Thornton's specialty so far has been, like, keeping plays going, and he's done a really good job of it. Like, as you've been seeing, like, he's chipping pucks towards, like, players. He's not doing all the big things, but, like, he's getting pucks towards the high danger areas, and I would say he's doing good at what he can do.
Yeah, it's just, I don't think it's a first liner skill set, which is fine. But here's the thing is that you hope that Keefe is kind of watching the same thing we're watching. I mean, and to me, I think he is, because you saw briefly there, they stacked the top unit and they scored. They went with the Armageddon line, as I call it, the Matthews, Marner, Tavares line. They went with that for a while, and it didn't produce anything. But the willingness of him to do these lines,
And he moved Hyman up to the front.
yeah, it's important that he does that. And I think as long as the Leafs are doing that, excuse me, they'll be okay. But I don't know, like, losing to the Senators to me is not really acceptable. Something I want to actually touch on now, because if we can move on here, the Riley Brody pair did not have a great game. Last game they were pretty good. Nothing sticks out in my mind as kind of any major blow-ups. I don't think this game was the same.
No, T.J. Brody tonight, as clearly brought out by the color. What's his name? Doing color tonight. Ray Ferraro. He was picking on him a little bit, but I think kind of rightfully so. He was out of position. He gave away pucks. He really was, again, late to the party. He had a little bit of like Zaitsev and things going on in his
That's
game.
not fair. And that's a totally different style.
No,
I mean,
I'm not saying. I'm not talking about his inability to break the puck out like Zaitsev just
More like
ices
Cody
pucks.
Ceci.
Whatever, yeah, maybe Cody Ceci. My point being that he was just really, he was on during those goals. He was kind of like Bogosian the first game, just like out of position, giving away pucks, looking a little bit lost out there, and he's a guy that if he's on your top pairing, getting minutes against tough offensive things, and he's being soft in front of the net and giving pucks away and not taking guys out and stuff, it's going to be a long season with that guy. I'm going to say that.
Here's what I would say, though, is that's not what that's not his game. His game is
Well, you need a pair, one of the pairing, to box guys out or do whatever they got to do in front of the net. You can't let guys run roughshod on you when you're in your zone in front of your net.
Yeah, no, that's.
They said they're going to make it more difficult to get to the Leaf net.
Yeah, that's part of what they got to do. But the part of being a defenseman is obviously boxing guys out in front of the net. That's obviously an important skill. But the Leafs play a zoom game to put it in maybe not the best terms, but they move. They're quick on their skates. And the thing that Brody does that none of Morgan Riley's other partners have ever done is move the puck. Brody did it with Calgary. He's done it the last 2 games. He's an option to break the puck out instead of Morgan Riley having to be the one to break it out. And if Zaitsev tries to break it out, it's an icing after he misses a stretch pass.
No doubt.
Now that said, again, part of being a defenseman is boxing guys out. On the second or third goal against, they showed on the highlights. Brody's guys stick up in the air, trying to box out Kachuk, I think.
Yeah.
That's not gonna work.
They said that's.
Yeah, that's not gonna work. Do I see that being a continual issue? I don't know about that. I honestly, to be honest, I don't see the Leafs being hemmed in their zone that often with that pair on the ice. I think that this was maybe one of the. This is probably on the. If we were to if you're to visualize a standard deviation chart or whatever it's called, where you've got the lowest percentile and the highest percentile and the most common occurrences, this would probably be on the lowest end of games that pairing will have. This pairing should, in theory, work out just fine. And when they're not hemmed in their own zone, they should be okay. But when they are hemmed in their own zone, it's going to be a problem.
Do you think that Brody was carried by Giordano last year?
Yeah, for sure. The stats back that up. He didn't really carry that pair. when he was paired with Michael Stone, who worth noting that is not a good hockey player, Michael Stone that is. His numbers saw like a significant drop, right? It's with Giordano is where he's flourished in the past, which is understandable. Giordano's like a Team Canada worthy defenseman. He's like one of the best defensemen in the NHL.
But that says that he carried him probably.
No, but also like Riley should be capable of carrying him, but he doesn't need to be carried. He's capable enough of producing. It's not that he was lugging. It's not that Giordano was lugging him around. It's that Giordano and him were putting up really strong results together. So Riley and Brody should be able to do the same thing.
I look at that pairing, and I again, we talked about it during the game when they were really struggling, and should they shuffle the deck, and we realistically don't think Keefe is going to do much on the defense pairings throughout the season. But in my opinion, their skill sets are kind of a little bit too similar. I like defense pairings that are a little more complementary, and I look at a guy, like Brody, and if he doesn't have a little bit of that, maybe a little bit better defensive acumen, then maybe he's not the best partner for Riley, given that Riley has a propensity to get, have guys go around him or beat him, and
his gap control is always been an issue.
Yes, and so it concerns me. I look at a guy like Muzzin, who's really good at sort of getting in guys' faces when they come at him and stuff like that, and I see Dermott that way too, and I think Dermott is a guy that you pair with one of those offensive guys, and then Muzzin's a guy that you pair. And I don't know anything about Lettinen or whatever, but that's the way I would pair it.
I think we're all thinking similar things.
Yeah.
You wanna comment, Ethan?
I was gonna say the exact same thing. Like once Dermott raises his performance and gets like a secured spot in the Leafs lineup, I think he's an ideal partner with either Morgan Riley or TJ Brody. He's really good with gap control. He's very reliable defensively, and he has a lot of upside on the offensive part of the game.
I completely agree.
I don't know if I agree with the offensive upside. He's never been a huge point producer.
No, I think.
But he has capability.
Yeah,
he has
capable.
the skills. I don't look at him. He's not a slug like a what do you call it? Like a Bogosian or a Zaitsev, or there's no they have no offensive acumen whatsoever. I think he actually, with his skating ability particularly, he can create some offense, whether it's maybe he'll just be a passer, but the ability to open ice by being able to skate and move the defense around the other team's defense, by spreading them out, by being a good skater, I think is critical. And I think he's honestly one of the top 5 skaters on the team when you watch him skate. That's how I view Dermott. Absolutely. Maybe behind Matthews, Nylander, and I don't know, maybe Marner and one or two other guys. I think he's a great skater.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt that Dermott's.
I think he's better than Riley even.
That's probably a stretch.
I don't know. Riley's skating is different. They're different kind of skaters, very different, right? But I don't know. Anyway, their defense has been their Achilles heel the last number of years, and they said they were going to fix it. And these are the 2 guys they brought in. And in my opinion, I'm not sure they're going to be the messiah that's going to fix the Leafs' defensive problems. I think they got to look long and hard about how they're pairing them off.
Yeah,
that has a lot to do with
the pairings. I think I don't. You maybe said that you think the pairings are maybe set in stone. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that Keefe has showed on the forward end that he's willing to experiment. I don't really see. I don't see why he wouldn't be willing to experiment on the back end as well. There is some limit because there's a lot of guys that are left-handed and there's a lot of guys that aren't comfortable playing on their offside. It was a big thing when they traded for Muzzin. There was some belief that Muzzin would play with Riley, and that didn't come to fruition because Muzzin did not play on the right side with them. He played on the left side, and the right side was, I believe, Alec Martinez, or it was someone else on the Kings. We've talked a lot about the goalies, talked a lot about the defense. Let's touch on the forwards a little bit. We talked about Hyman. He was someone that stood out. Did anyone else stand out, or on the opposite end, did anyone kind of disappoint you?
I'll just jump in with one comment really quick. I don't even really remember much going on with the fourth line again. I don't think they got a lot of minutes tonight. Like Bear Banoff had that one shift where he looked pretty good. But the guy who kind of a little bit stuck out, we talked about Hyman having a good game, and we talked about Kerfoot, but I thought Wayne Simmons actually kind of impressed me tonight because he got in there. He was the sandpaper that he needed to be, and he was as advertised to get in there and cause a little bit of trouble behind the net. And listen, we called him stone hands during the game. He's going to get a couple of goals that are going to go off his skate or his ass, and that's about it. You know what I mean? Because he's going to be in front of the net, and he's going to be like the poor man's JVR.
The poor man's David Clarkson.
Yeah, or whatever. Right? He's not going to get, his hands are not going to be what gets him
Wayne Simmons.
No chance.
Or from Scarborough,
No
not
chance.
Mimico.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. But the things that he's being paid to do, right? To agitate, you need forecheckers and guys that can lodge pucks loose and create some havoc deep behind the net and stuff like that. And I think he does that well. And I think, he stood out to me as a guy that actually showed a good effort tonight. Because to be honest, I saw a lot of guys were passengers tonight, in my opinion.
Yeah, Simmons has impressed more than I thought he would. Was not the biggest fan of that signing, to be totally frank. But he has been effective. Has played his role. Obviously, had the scrap in the first game. I obviously don't have the numbers in front of me, but drawing conclusions from 2 games is tough.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
As far as the eye test goes, he's someone that's impressed me. The top line, we talked about Jumbo a little bit. Marner and Matthews, they have not registered a goal yet, neither of them. They might have a couple apples. I know Marner had an apple on the Tavares
Matthews
goal.
got an assist last game.
Yeah, so no goals so far through 2 games.
Which is unusual.
Yeah, definitely unusual, particularly in the Matthews respect. Do you see any red flags? What have you thought of those 2 so far? I'll let Ethan take this one.
I don't see any red flags to say, but it's a little concerning. Matthews has had all these shot attempts, all these shots on net. He just can't. He can't find the back of the net. That's all I'm gonna say basically. He has every single capability there is. He can't finish right now. There's nothing really else to it. He's doing well right now. He's pressing a bunch of shots, and he's getting to high danger areas. It's just the puck's not going in the net.
I think Jori made a point about Matthews, though. I think they're really keying on him. I think you see he is getting some chances, but he's as soon as he goes in those corners to try to get some pucks and to try to move pucks around, they're all over him.
2 or 3 guys.
Yeah, he's not getting the space that he's, I think, been used to getting, or been used to being able to create. He's creating space and he's got great hands and he's done stuff, but he's not getting shots through. And tonight we even said, particularly in the third period, they were turtle shelling.
It was 5 guys in the slot.
Yeah, especially when they were trying to, towards the end to come back and whatnot. I mean, you're not going to be able to do anything in that case. But Marner, I made a comment towards the end of the game. He is not when the play gets tight, and especially when you're in a 1 or 2-0 game and you're all chasing pucks and trying to make things happen and digging for pucks. He gets pushed off the puck, in my opinion, way too easily. I don't know if you guys see the same thing, but
I agree.
I see that. I don't see him matching up physically. I don't know what the deal is, but he seems to get pushed around a little bit too much.
Well, I wouldn't say I disagree. He's never going to be. He never was. As a junior, it's not his game. It's really just it's not his game. He's the way that people are like, oh, Nylander is a floaty guy, even though the fact is that he's one of the premier guys in front of the net as far as goals from the slot. Marner is a creator, and he's able to drive a line. He's able to generate offense, but he generates offense through his ability to find seams and elevate other players. That's really what his skill is. Now, what should be noticed is he's said a lot is he wants to shoot the puck more, which is honestly kind of concerning to me, because he just doesn't have that skill set. Which you want.
He's not known for a shot.
Well, you want him to have enough weapons. The way that Nylander has a weapon where they have to protect the shot, but but he's got the opportunity to pass it. And Nylander is not as good a playmaker as Marner is. Marner is a way better playmaker than Nylander is by about a country mile. But Nylander's shooting ability opens up passing lanes, and he's a capable enough passer and to an extent not a good enough shooter that he ends up with kind of like equal footing as far as like he'll end up with like 30 goals, 30 assists, or like 35 goals, 30 assists. Whereas
Nylander?
I'm talking about Nylander. Whereas Matthews, for example, has such a lethal shot, he ends up with 50 goals and like 34 assists because he's not passing the puck. Because who's better than Austin to shoot the puck? It's Austin. You want Austin shooting the puck.
Yeah.
Marner is the other end of the spectrum where you want him to be passing the puck to the Matthews, for example, to be setting him up. But the problem is, and it should be noted that Marner has multiple 20-goal seasons. He had almost a 30-goal season with Tavares 2 seasons ago. He can put the puck in the net. He's very capable of it. But his priority should always be the pass. And there was, in fact, on one of the power plays, Matthews was all alone, had oodles and oodles and oodles and oodles of room. Like no one in a 10-mile radius. And he fired it on net. It would have been a gift of an opportunity, and he opted to shoot it. Which, like, I understand you're trying to present the threat of shooting. It's kind of like Ethan when you play MLB The Show, and I tell you, sit on these pitches, make the pitcher get comfortable putting the ball over the heart of the plate, so that when you are down 0-2 and they're ready to throw you strike 3, you can hit it because you're capable of hitting it. For Marner is capable of. What Marner's trying to do is he's trying to set up he's trying to set up that 0-2 count where he swings on the third pitch to put it, I guess, metaphorically. But his game has never been swinging. His game has always been something else, which in hockey term would be passing. So to me, that's kind of what I think Marner. It's 2 games, and conclusions are going to be drawn faster because it's a shorter season. But there is something to Marner's game that he excels at, and he really should not stick to that, but lean into that and understand it.
Well, they all have their core strengths, right? And we know it's with Nylander, it's his skating, and his shot now is coming around, and Matthews is his stick work, his stick handling, and his shot, right? And with Marner, it's his passing, right? Just as Tavares is good in close, with tips and stuff like that, and they all have their gifts, and I think Keefe uses them, and deploys them towards using those gifts. But I think I agree, Marner is a little bit confused right now, maybe by trying to lean towards something that isn't his gift, isn't his strength. I agree. Go ahead.
Yeah, going back to Marner, like, he's trying to shoot the puck, as he said, but when you're taking point shots, like, it's not going to do anything, especially when you don't have a shot like Marner. Like Jori was telling me, he's taking way too many point shots. Like, if you want to take all these shots, get in the slot, like, get in the high danger areas.
Yeah,
but if you can't shoot, or you don't have as good of a capability as your line mate, who is one of the most elite snipers in the entire NHL, then I feel like there is less of a reason to shoot the puck.
For sure. So we've explored this at length, and let's kind of just, on the whole, what would you say is your biggest takeaway from the game? We'll start with Ethan. What would you, if you had to just one takeaway from the game, what would you really kind of say?
That your Freddie jersey is cursed. No.
Yeah. I guess that's a good observation.
Basically the same thing as this last game. Freddie didn't really perform. First line was pretty mediocre, and like the depth was a lot better today with the 2 third-line goals, but you can't do anything really when your superstars aren't really performing. Like Tavares got that goal, but it's on the power play, which is stacked.
For sure, yeah, for sure. And Dan, what do you think?
Jor, I look at it a little bit differently. I mean, we can pick on Freddie all night and all day, and we have our leanings and our biases, but I'm gonna pin this one on the defense. A lot of those goals were really scrambly. It was like Leafs of almost like 20, 14.
Wow, not a very kind comparison.
No, it's not a kind comparison. But for the level of guys that we now have in there, we've gotten rid of a lot of the riffraff. We got rid of Barry, we got rid of Zaitsev, we got rid of Cece. But the guys tonight, I mean, I know Freddie was bad, and yeah, you know, like I said earlier, you got to get a save, you got to bail your team out when they're not playing a good game. But the defense looked really bad tonight. You know, just again, Bogosian's on for 1 or 2 goals, and you know, what's his name? Riley was a -3. Brody was a -2. I think they were saying on the broadcast. So I don't know. I kind of pin it on the defense, and wonder whether maybe they didn't do enough to address their defensive deficiencies, or let's have a look at Sandin and Lettinen. Let's bring him in, right? Put Bogosian in the press box, and I don't know who else, but at least let's give Lettinen a look-see and put Bogosian down, and maybe shuffle the deck. I don't know. They won't.
Maybe.
They won't shuffle the deck with the pairings. They will not do that. But in my opinion, they might need to. I don't know about Morgan, Riley, and Brody. I'm a little nervous about that pairing.
Yeah, well, for sure. The biggest takeaway is, as you guys said, the goal is in the defense. Just was not the Leafs' night, really. It's unfortunate. But you're not going to win every game. Even in a 52-game season, it kind of is
Real
what it
quick,
is.
guys, what do you think about, is there a bounce back tomorrow night? What do you think?
Well, that's the hope, I think, is the Leafs will look to turn the ship around tomorrow night as they take on the Ottawa Senators. Once again, this has been Jori, Stuart, and Nathan signing off from the Leafs Room Podcast.
The Maple